The wildness of this mountain territory should make Dinah Wyatt turn and usher her sister right back to Fort Benton and the first steamship to the States. But something in this grandeur, the wide-open blue sky, the pine-covered slopes rising on either side, the narrow creek murmuring beside the path where she and Naomi rode, brought to life a part of her she hadn't known lay dormant. This late summer day wasn't hot and muggy like Virginia. The sun felt glorious, and a light breeze cooled any excess heat. This would be the perfect place for Naomi to settle, if her new husband was a good man like he sounded in his advertisement. Of course, a man could easily lie on paper, even easier than with his lips. But his heartfelt words had encouraged them to seek God's direction about whether Naomi was the right bride for him. The two of them had done that. Dinah herself had spent many hours beseeching the Lord, first begging for answers about why Naomi had let herself yield to temptation in the first place, then why God had felt it necessary for that sin to produce a child. When she prayed about whether this trip to the Montana Territory had been the right direction for them both, she'd finally felt a peace, a settling in her spirit that she could cling to when the doubts crept in, as they did now. She forced herself to ease out a long breath. They were so very far from home and all they'd ever known. Not that Naomi could stay in Wayneston anymore, and Dinah wasn't about to allow her to take this journey alone. They'd been born together, only 3 minutes apart, and the one night Dinah had abandoned her sister, the worst had happened to her. She wouldn't make that mistake again. Now both she and Naomi would learn the true character of the man they'd both traveled nearly 3 months for Naomi to marry, if they ever found this Coulter ranch he'd described. Dinah straightened in her saddle and steeled her resolve. She would make sure Jericho Coulter would be a suitable match for her sister and a good father for the coming babe before she found her own place in this land. Hopefully there was a quiet town nearby that wasn't consumed with gold fever, a town where she could hang out a shingle for her clinic. A grunt from behind made her turn. Naomi smiled from her own saddle, but the look made Dinah's chest tighten. She was more than 6 months into her term, and she'd swelled so much during the last part of their journey. So many hours in the saddle since they left the steamboat in Fort Benton 3 weeks ago had taken its toll. How much more could Naomi endure? Dinah made sure they only rode half days, allowing Naomi plenty of time to rest with her legs propped up. Still, the bloating had increased. The puffiness in her face made it appear she'd doubled her weight, and panic had twisted in Dinah's chest when Naomi hadn't been able to squeeze her feet into boots. At least she'd felt the babe move again that morning, but surely the mother's suffering would have an effect on the unborn child. Her sister desperately needed time to rest in bed. Days, or maybe weeks, on her back with her feet raised on pillows. If they didn't find that respite for Naomi at the ranch, what could they do? Maybe they should set up camp beside this stream and settle in until Naomi's swelling lessened.